Welcome into the Wiltfong Whiparound with Steve Wiltfong. Today is Thursday, April 17th, and the transfer portal is open. Spring games are here. Big visits happening all over the country, and commitments, they're coming. So it's a great time to talk recruiting, and we're going to get into it in just a second. But before we do, you guys, hit subscribe to the On3 Recruit channel. This is the best recruiting channel on all of YouTube. All right. We got Steve Wiltfong here to talk transfer portal developments. And as always, this year's spring transfer portal window is sponsored by Teamworks Intelligence. Their mission is simple: more hits, fewer misses in player evaluation. Now, Steve, let's get into it. And the first player we're talking about in the portal is Nico Iamaleava. And you guys have been all over this. When I say you guys, I mean you and Pete Nakos, consistently reporting, one, that there was trouble brewing in Knoxville, and two, that UCLA is the team to watch. And yesterday reports were out that it is trending in that direction. But is UCLA a done deal or not with Nico Iamaleava?
Well, first of all, it was our guy, Pete Nakos, that knew about the turmoil in Tennessee before anybody. But after that story broke, UCLA was the first program that I heard as one to watch for Nico Iamaleava moving forward. And that continues to be the program I consistently hear in this recruitment. In fact, there's no other programs that we're hearing right now are in the mix for Nico Iamaleava. But you know as well as I do, Josh, things can turn on a dime with this family, with this young man and his process. But right now, UCLA is still the hot team with Nico Iamaleava.
Things can turn on a dime. Does his brother Madden leaving UCLA at the altar on National Signing Day, for those that don't remember, his younger brother just this year was committed to UCLA and flipped that commitment to Arkansas on National Signing Day? Do you think that has any impact on what's happening right now with UCLA and Nico?
Well, apparently not. And that was one that blindsided UCLA at the last minute when Madden Iamaleava flipped to Arkansas. And it just goes to show you how volatile and quickly things can change with this young man and his family. Obviously, when he signed with Tennessee, he made a bunch of headlines for how much of a business transaction that was and the money that was commanded in that recruitment for Tennessee. They went to court over it, and Tennessee, it went in Iamaleava's favor, and obviously tried to get a raise at Tennessee. Didn't go to practice last Friday, basically lost his job after that, and it has completely changed the negotiations for him since. Obviously, any backroom wheeling and dealing that was being done on Nico's behalf going into the end of last week, you had a baseline salary of over $2 million a year. That quickly went to 0.00. So I think it changed the conversations. Mm-hmm. Who is now willing to go the highest at this point in the process? UCLA is the program that is the most consistent right now in this recruitment. We'll see if another suitor or two pops up here this transfer portal cycle.
Yeah, and you mentioned, he was making $2 million plus at Tennessee. So how big of a priority is he for UCLA? Is he a $4 million priority? I know that's the number being thrown around that, Nico would like to hit. Is he that big of a priority for UCLA?
Well, I'd be very surprised because I think they already obviously landed Joey Aguilar out of the transfer portal from App State, and returns are strong, that he is doing a good job in Westwood. And again, typically the money that is spent on athletes, you're competing against other bidders and other benchmarks here. And so the market has gone down significantly since he was let go from his prior employment at Tennessee after missing work last Friday. And that has changed everything from what I'm hearing as far as the value that he can bring in on the trail. But you and I, again, both know you're worth what someone's willing to pay you. So we'll see if someone comes in here over the next 36, 48 hours. But again, everything is lining up right. Or I should just say UCLA is the most consistent team in this process right now.
Really interesting. So what do you think? Does UCLA get this done?
Wiltfong Whiparound is sponsored by Game Time. Game Time is the hot ticket app for fans that are looking for those last minute, hard to find, hard to get tickets. It's tournament season. Looking to be at the biggest games in March with friends or loved ones? Game Time has you covered. And Game Time is about maximizing value. So they're going to find you the best bang for your buck. In fact, right now on my Game Time app, I'm looking for Pacers tickets, an opportunity to see the best players in the NBA. And I'm finding tickets in club level for $23. And there's no hidden fees. Game Time Picks. Curation makes it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. All in pricing. Toggling this feature shows the total up front, which again, no surprise fees at checkout. You get your seat views, get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy. The lowest price guarantee or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Game Time ticket coverage. Your tickets are guaranteed to be delivered on time, and your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticket industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code ON3 ON3 for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Well, right now, I think they do. It'll be interesting to see what happens because, again, Joey Aguilar doing well there. That culture is on the uptick at UCLA right now under Deshaun Foster and that new staff. I do think that there are kids that would want to play with Nico, his peers. But when you just look at this situation holistically, a young man, a returning starter that didn't play up to $2 million a year last year, but it's an investment that you would think his year returning into the offense around the program that you would get a return on that. That didn't happen. So he's still a developing quarterback that all of a sudden there's a reputation that it is all about the money. You can put out a narrative, whatever you want. It's about the offense, X, Y, Z. But everybody else thinks it's about the money. And so what happens if you go to the next place and you play well? Are you instantly going to ask for a raise in October or November? Are you going to threaten to sit out the bowl game if that's your future? So these are all things that teams are balancing. And that's why the market is a lot smaller for Nico Iamaleava. If a player with a similar statistical skill set and upside went into the portal, there would be a lot more action if it wasn't for the things I just mentioned as far as are they going to ask for a raise every game after playing well? Is there going to be a request for a raise before a postseason game? Is there going to be a request for a raise before spring camp? Just trying to squeeze. And look, you can do what you want, but then it sets up this situation where you get let go from your employment and the market resets.
Yeah, absolutely craziness happening right now in college football. And so we'll see. This is fascinating. All right, moving on to another former five-star leaving his team. We're talking Micah Hudson, the former five-star wide receiver out of the state of Texas, signed with Texas Tech, really did nothing as a freshman, transferred to A&M, did nothing there. Now he's leaving A&M again after just a couple months. What's happening here?
Yeah, I think some schools are trying to figure that out too, Josh, and they're putting out some feelers, calling A&M, of course, calling Texas Tech. These coaches are friends behind the scenes and then having conversations with Micah Hudson and his people. One program that is emerging for him right now is Utah. Kyle Whittingham and company, their culture is as strong as any in college football. They obviously view this as a young man that could come into Utah, has the talent to help us, and he'll fall right in line with our strong culture. So expecting him to visit Utah this weekend. Pete Nakos, our colleague, reporting that Texas Tech remains in the mix. I think that was the assumption when he went back in the portal that he would go back to Texas Tech. But Nakos reporting that's not a for sure thing as they continue to go through their process in Lubbock. But there are other schools feeling him out. I wouldn't be surprised if we see another program or two emerge for Micah Hudson because he is indeed very talented.
Yeah, I want to say some other things, but I wish we knew exactly why some of these guys were leaving. Like, we know he's not leaving A&M because of money. We know he's not leaving Texas Tech or A&M because of money. But what would be the reason to leave A&M? I mean, they have a quarterback. They have all the money you could want. They have an up-and-coming coach. Like, I just don't understand some of these situations.
Well, when you have 85 players on scholarship, not all 85 are going to be happy. And again, a new era of college football. He, for whatever reason, left Texas Tech, which by all indications, that's a fun place to play for a coaching staff that's player coaches.
Yeah.
And Texas Tech
upgraded that roster really well this offseason, too.
Texas Tech invested heavily to land Micah Hudson over blue chip programs like Texas and Ohio State. We know what Texas Tech is doing in the transfer portal. That is no accident. They are fully funded. So I think he's just trying to find a place where he's happy. And certainly you hear some narratives behind the scenes about the young man that then makes him as some college programs would say, a risk to take, because to play at the highest level, to play at these championship level programs, you have to be hungry. You got to be juiced up to be there and want to put in the extra work. We'll see if Utah is a program that can get the best out of him, because, again, we think he's very talented. He just got to be happy wherever he lands. That's my viewpoint on it.
All right. Notre Dame safety Kennedy Urlacher, the son of Hall of Famer Brian Urlacher, is in the portal with a no-contact tag. We've seen this happen before. I mean, Nico hit the portal with a no-contact tag. So what does it mean for Urlacher and his destination?
We'll talk to a source on Thursday morning about Kennedy Urlacher's process, and they seem to think USC is the team to watch for Kennedy Urlacher. USC is a program that I think is very invested in the portal this spring cycle as they try and continue to build on a season last year where they were just on the cusp. They were in a lot of those ball games, but there is a lot of pressure on Lincoln Riley and that coaching staff to have a big year. So this portal cycle, looking for more difference makers, guys that can help this roster. Kennedy Urlacher is someone that I'm hearing is trending towards the Trojans right now going into the weekend.
UNC, they're going QB hunting in South Alabama. South Alabama quarterback Gio Lopez is in the portal, and it seems like he's a target for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, I think he's trending towards North Carolina. So does colleague Pete Nakos. Our on-3 RPM reflects that for Gio Lopez. This is a young man that completed 66% of his passes in his first year as a starter last fall for South Alabama. Threw for over 2,500 yards, 18 touchdowns to just 5 interceptions. He's accurate, takes care of the football, 220 pounds, built more like a tailback. But North Carolina, this is the guy that they're all in on. There was some Tar Heel rumors about Nico Iamaleava when his name was announced in the transfer portal. But this is the guy, Gio Lopez, their top target, and I like where they stand right now.
All right, let's stick with UNC, and now we're going to talk Bo Atkinson. He is an edge prospect that's already put his name in the portal, so he's no longer a Tar Heel, but we know Georgia's involved because Rusty Manziel, Dogs HQ, was on this channel yesterday saying as much. But Bo Atkinson, he's drawing a ton of attention. Who else is in this battle?
Yeah, easy to see why. You're talking about a 6'6", 265-pound pass rusher that had 7.5 sacks last season. Ohio State is a program that I have a keen eye on right now for Bo Atkinson as Ohio State tries to touch up a roster that's coming off a national championship. Georgia, as you said, South Carolina is a program that's trying to make a major push for Bo Atkinson as well.
All right, let's talk about one of these prospects at a lower level that all of a sudden is getting interest from nearly every school in America. Steve, these situations have to be crazy. We're talking about offensive tackle Joe Cotton. He's about 6'7", 315 pounds, plays at South Dakota. He probably never received a phone call in his life during this high school process from any of these coaches, but now he has about a week to decide, and he's hearing from everyone. What's the latest on Joe Cotton?
Well, he's 6'7", 315 pounds, had a fantastic career over there at South Dakota. He is drawing some major interest, already has visits set up for Wisconsin and Cincinnati. Michigan is a program that I'm keeping an eye on. His transcripts were sent to the Wolverines on Wednesday after going into the portal. They're looking to add one more difference maker on the offensive line. Joe Cotton is a guy that's on their radar, so we'll see if Sharon Moore and company turn it up a notch, but Wisconsin and Cincinnati are certainly in play.
All right, before we get out of this transfer portal segment, Steve, you dropped a new prediction for the Dogs just before we went on air. Who is it?
Yeah, Pete Nakos and I hearing that Georgia is trending for Alabama A&M defensive tackle Cedric Smith. He's 6'4", 310 pounds. He's from Atlanta, Georgia. So for his recruitment, his process to come full circle the way it's trending is pretty cool. This is a guy that grinded it out on JUCO, Alabama A&M. Now a chance to go play for Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs. We're hearing he is headed to Georgia. Certainly he's got that SEC size, going to add some depth at the point of attack for a Georgia team that's looking to bounce back from a playoff loss to Notre Dame, get right back into the championship hunt after winning the SEC last year.
All right, Steve, let's talk Michigan quarterback recruiting as things are starting to take shape in Ann Arbor. We got a couple of names involved here. We got five-star Ryder Lyons, who seems like after a visit to Michigan could be coming down to a decision soon. We got another quarterback offered this month by Michigan. That's Nathan Bernhardt, and he says that Michigan has the upper hand. But then you also got Brady Smeagol, the former FSU commitment, has been out to Ann Arbor as well. He's been a priority of Michigan. So how do you see these QB dominoes falling for Michigan?
This year's spring transfer portal window is sponsored by Teamworks Intelligence. Their mission is simple: more hits, fewer misses, and player evaluation. In the transfer portal era, data-driven recruiting isn't just an advantage, it's essential. Teamworks Intelligence empowers your program to navigate the transfer portal with precision while simultaneously elevating your game planning and self-scouting capabilities. The same advanced analytics platform trusted by NFL teams to make multi-million-dollar personnel decisions is now available to elevate your college program's evaluation process. For athletic directors, general managers, and coaching staffs, Teamworks Intelligence delivers game-changing efficiency by streamlining the evaluation process. Instead of spending countless hours reviewing film and traveling to scout prospects, your team can assess more players with greater accuracy in less time. This means maximize recruiting efforts within new budget constraints, giving you the competitive edge needed to build championship caliber programs. Don't just survive the portal era, dominate it with Teamworks Intelligence, the new standard in player evaluation. Well, I think we're going to have our answer very soon on who Michigan's quarterback recruit's going to be in the 2026 class. And obviously, it's going to be a guy that's going to come in and be someone that just pushes that room the first couple years, as Bryce Underwood's expected to be the starter for the next 3 years. On3's number one ranked recruit who's impressing this spring. But Brady Smeagol, he's taking his visit to Michigan this weekend for the spring game. And I think that the Wolverines are pushing to close this one through for 3,521 yards as a junior, completed 65% of his attempts for 49 touchdowns, also ran for 11 more scores. He was someone that at one point was trending towards Washington, but Washington now trending to land a commitment from four-star Derek Zammit in the near future. He's a former Florida State commit that realizes that these windows close fast. So I think he has to come to Michigan this weekend and say, is this a place where I can be? Can I live here? How excited am I to be a Wolverine? Because a decision may have to come soon, because Nathan Bernhardt is also in decision-making mode. He is a 6'6", 200-plus pound quarterback that's got the traits to be. He's 230 pounds. He's coming off a great season at Ashland High in Ohio, the best season in school history. Nearly 3,000 yards passing, 24 touchdowns, 1,200 yards rushing, 22 scores. Michigan's fallen in love with him. He was the first quarterback new offensive coordinator Chip Lindsey went to go see on Monday. He then flew out west, went to go see Brady Smeagol, as coaches are on the road right now. I think if Brady doesn't pop this weekend, Nathan's in the fold soon after, and Michigan has their 2026 quarterback. And then they can really focus on 2027. Their top guy is Ryder Lyons, who's actually in the 2026 class. He's a 5-star recruit per the On3 industry, but he's going to take that LDS mission after his senior year, which puts him in 2027. Michigan had him on campus this weekend. Now they try and line up an official, right? Because BYU, Oregon, and USC have been setting the pace. He was back at Oregon this week. He's been back to USC recently. He nearly committed to USC at one point. His best relationships with Oregon. BYU, that's a program where his family has attended school. They have a lot in common, loves the trajectory of the program. They had a great season. It lines up with his LDS beliefs. So those are the three front runners: Michigan, Ole Miss, Ohio State, working to get official visits, working to make a move on those three programs for Ryder Lyons.
All right. Well, we'll have to see how this quarterback recruiting shakes out. But like you said, I don't think we're going to have to wait long. All right. Speaking of not waiting long, one of their priority targets on the offensive side of the ball, running back Javian Osborne, is on campus this weekend ahead of his May 3rd decision. But we know Notre Dame's trending in this one. Can Michigan turn the tide of this recruitment, Steve?
I think so. He's had a lot of love for Michigan throughout his entire process. They've led at various points in his recruitment. He's been there several times, and I think Michigan finally starts to have those end game conversations you have with the recruit to close the deal, So I think they have a chance to make a move this weekend if those conversations go right in Ann Arbor. He's got a lot of love for the staff, the program, the way they recruit offensive line, the way the offense is structured. It's a run game first that sets everything else up. So he sees tremendous opportunity at Michigan. Notre Dame is the front runner for a lot of the same reasons, but Michigan's got served this weekend, and we'll see if they can flip the script on where this recruitment currently stands.
One more prospect we got to hit on when it comes to Michigan. That's number 2 ranked quarterback Devon Benjamin, and he is in Ann Arbor on Tuesday checking out the maize and blue. Does Michigan have a shot here?
Well, I think that they're playing from behind coming into the visit, but what they offer on the field, off the field, you never count the Wolverines out for making a move once a young man visits. But Oregon, USC, Miami, Georgia, some of the programs that I would have put in a better position for, but Lamar Morgan and the Wolverines offered last summer. They've been building a relationship, and obviously he has interest. He came on campus this week to get another look at Michigan. Some other defensive backs that the Wolverines are swinging at. The number 4 corner in the country, Kerry Adams, he's going to visit this weekend. I do think Michigan's one of the favorites there with LSU, Notre Dame, Oregon, and Penn State. The number 9 cornerback, Justice Fitzpatrick, that's kind of a similar recruitment to Devon Benjamin, Josh, as far as I think Michigan trails some other programs, but they're getting them on campus. They'll aim to make a move. Some other key visitors this weekend for the spring game. Matthew Canoe is a 4-star linebacker from Virginia. Penn State trending on the On3 RPM. We'll see if Michigan can change that. And then J.J. Finch, he's a defensive lineman from Indianapolis, Warren Central. Alabama, LSU, Tennessee working to pull him down to SEC country. Michigan has been a front runner for Finch for much of his process. They get him back up for the spring game this weekend.
All right, Steve, let's talk a little South Carolina recruiting. As Shane Beamer is lining up an outstanding recruiting class. What's cooking right now in Columbia?
Well, they're coming off their first 9-win season since 2017. There's just a lot of excitement and buzz around this program. They have their Heisman candidate in Lenoris Sellers. There is a lot of terrific players on the roster around him. South Carolina coaching staff, the energy, the buzz around this program, recruits that visit this weekend for the spring game are going to feel that. And as they look to recruit a 4th straight top 20 class, this could be the best one yet. Some of the guys expected this weekend, you have 5-star edge rusher Carter Meadows from Washington, D.C., Gonzaga, Michigan, Penn State, Ohio State, Stanford, Northwestern, North Carolina, some of the others in there. But he's got great intrigue, a great relationship with South Carolina. The Gamecocks getting onto On3's number 6 player overall on campus. Ohio State has been the On3 RPM favorite for the Harris twins, Aiden Harris and Andrew Harris out of North Carolina. But South Carolina is on the rise for both of them. Aiden Harris visited last week. He's the number 2 defensive lineman in the country. He did a shadow day with the Gamecocks. Now he quickly returns. South Carolina has the momentum in the recruitment for Aiden Harris and Andrew Harris, who they like at linebacker. It is an important week on the offensive line for South Carolina. Desmond Green is one of the most coveted players at the point of attack in the SEC. He's from South Carolina, Timberland High. Gamecocks are in the thick of that one. J.B. Shabazz, the number 7 offensive tackle in the country out of North Carolina. He is hearing from top programs in the SEC and the Big Ten. Gamecocks looking to make a little more hay with him this weekend. I like where South Carolina stands with 2 more key targets. On 300 edge rusher, Julian Walker coming into the visit, and 4-star defensive back Tamarian Watkins. Brian Harris is a guy who's being recruited coast to coast out of Jacksonville Mandarin. Before he blew up over the last couple months, South Carolina was all over him, that relationship, the trust he has in them. He's excited to be on campus this weekend as well. I could see Brian Harris ultimately in South Carolina's class. So key pass rushers, key defensive linemen, key offensive linemen on campus this week for South Carolina. Their top quarterback target is Landon Duckworth. He visited last weekend. He kind of fits the same skill set as Lenoris Sellers. He's been committed to the Gamecocks before. They want to try and bring that full circle as they battle Ole Miss, Florida State, and others for Landon Duckworth.
Steve, we got a big week at USC. We got an even bigger weekend coming up. And the Trojans, just in general, when it comes to recruiting, maybe they're the story of the offseason. So, Steve, what's the latest on USC recruiting?
Well, obviously, they sit at number 2 in the On3 industry recruiting rankings with a terrific chance to finish number 1. And it's another week where they host elite targets. And it started coming into the weekend with Luke Wafel, the number 5 edge rusher in the country, the number 1 player in New Jersey. I think he's as ready-made to play college football as there's a prospect in this 2026 class. He's 6'6". He's 251 pounds. He's very disruptive, unique wingspan, hand size. He checks all the boxes. USC came into this visit trailing Penn State, Ohio State, and Texas. But I think it was an experience that we see thrust them into the lead group with a great chance to get an official visit this summer and really battle the Longhorns, Nittany Lions, and Buckeyes for Luke Wafel. He loved being around the coaching staff, the one-on-one with Lincoln Riley, time spent with defensive coordinator Deontin Lynn. It was alumni day on campus. There were a bunch of recruits. There were over 150 former players. They felt the energy. They loved the trajectory of USC's program. I'm keeping an eye on USC moving forward for Luke Wafel. They've already hosted some top targets this week. Calvin Russell's the number 5 receiver in the country from South Florida. Miami, Syracuse, Georgia, some of the other front runners for him. Kenneth Goodwin's a linebacker from Inglewood that's been on campus a few times this spring. He was recently offered. He maintains Georgia's his favorite, but I'm keeping an eye on USC for him. I logged a new prediction for the Trojans this week. Tight end Luke Sorensen from Anaheim Servite. He's made a couple visits to USC this week. He's going to be at A&M this weekend, but USC picking up some steam in that recruitment. On Thursday, today, as we record, Matter Day, linebacker target Sean Scott expected on campus. The number 1 recruit in Washington, 4-star defensive end Derek Coleman-Brusa comes back. Derek Coleman-Brusa, that is a big-time blue-chip battle. He just had a really good visit to Ohio State. Oregon, UCLA, and Washington are in play. He will be back at USC for an official visit this summer. He is another kind of in the similar mold of Luke Wafel, just a ferocious, high upside body type that would certainly help USC get where they're trying to go as a program. The big weekend on tap includes one of their most coveted offensive line prospects, the number 6 offensive tackle in the land per the On3 industry, Keeney Pepe. Seems like USC starting to get some momentum in this recruitment. They also will host 4-star Brett Collegier and Cannon Smith. It's a return visit for Cannon Smith. One more name to mention in the 2026 class is James Scott. He's a tight end receiver hybrid from the Lone Star State that USC recently offered TCU's his leader, but A&M, LSU, and the Trojans coming on strong.
We are waiting on some big quacks when it comes to Oregon recruiting. The next 3 weeks could really set the tone for Oregon because we got commitment dates set for number 1 overall offensive tackle, Jackson Cantwell, and number 1 quarterback, Jared Curtis. They're both going to make their college decisions in the next 3 weeks. And we think I think Oregon has a great shot to land them both. What do you think?
Well, I agree. They're in the top 2 or 3 for both coming into those young men's final decisions. For Jackson Cantwell, I think Georgia checked a lot of boxes for what he's looking for from a coaching staff, program, development, and the stage that they play on. I think Miami is leading on the NIL front, and they can also point towards Coach Cristobal, Coach Mirabal, their relationship, how much they pour into the offensive line, how first-year starters have had so much success at various places, from Jonah Williams to Penei Sewell to Francis Mauigoa right now in Coral Gables, among others. He's taken 2 visits to Miami, game in the fall, multi-day visit in the spring. They are surging in this recruitment because of everything I just said. Oregon, maybe they're the mix of both, right? And his best relationship is with Dan Lanning. That's his favorite head coach. Certainly the style of play at Oregon, the way they're producing players, the stage they're playing on, national title contender. We know that Oregon is going to be a contender on the NIL front as well. But I also think that Jackson Cantwell is weighing a lot of things in his decision, and he is coming back to Oregon next weekend for an official visit. It's the only official he is going to take before he announces his college decision 2 days later, and he is not about wasting his own time. That is why he moved up his decision. He had all his official visits set for the summer, but he has been to those places multiple times. He's had multiple conversations with those staffs. His representation has had multiple NIL conversations with those staffs. But he wants to get back to Oregon, see if it's how he remembered it. Get his mom up there on a recruiting visit. Get back around, watch a spring practice with Oregon. Continue to sit down and talk with the coaches. We'll see what Oregon's final NIL offer is for Jackson Cantwell. You're talking about he's the number 1 player in the country. He is the best bet, in my opinion, from this class to be a first-round draft pick and meet his potential on the next level. But when you're talking about what his value is, you could also land 3 to 4 difference makers out of the portal each cycle. So there's so many things to weigh for these programs on what they're going to invest on a player like Jackson Cantwell. So that's emptying the notebook on where I think things stand with him going into the final stretch, going into the Oregon visit. It's going to be exciting to see where he lands because he's got all the intangibles. He's got all the tangibles. He works hard, got great length, super smart, explosive, powerful, still developing physically. He's the number 1 shot put thrower in the country, number 1 discus thrower in the country, and a great team guy as well. So it'll be exciting to see where Jackson Cantwell lands.
All right. Now, Oregon, they're actually having a busy week as we speak. A couple big-time names on campus. Steve, tell us about it.
Yeah, Oregon's got the number 4 class in the country. They'll have a shot at finishing number 1. It's because of some of these guys visiting this weekend. Albert Hill, number 1 recruit in Ohio, number 4 corner in the country. Oregon's been in the lead group for a long time. Texas A&M, USC, Alabama, Georgia, and of course, Ohio State, some of the others in play for Albert Hill IV, but he has always been high on Oregon. Jaira Edwards, number 4 safety in the country, hearing he could visit Oregon this weekend as well out of Baltimore St. Francis. He has been on the Ducks campus already a couple times throughout his process. Auburn, Texas A&M, Auburn, Georgia, Alabama, some of the other contenders, Maryland for Jaira Edwards. 4-star receiver Caden Dixon-Wyatt. He's been like a ping pong ball this spring visiting his favorites, Ohio State, Oregon, USC, back to Ohio State, back to Oregon. He is really trying to nail this thing down as he tries to make his college decision. A lot of love for Oregon, a lot of love for Ohio State. USC trying to make a move here this spring. I wouldn't be surprised if he ended up at any of those three programs. Oregon, new receivers coach Ross Douglas, building a fast relationship with him. He knows a lot of players in that Oregon locker room, feels very comfortable there. Another big visit for the Ducks as they try and close one of the most coveted wideouts out west. On 300 linebacker Nick Abrams has Oregon in his top 5. He has visited the other 4 schools in his top 5 this spring in Alabama, Georgia, Michigan, and Penn State. It's Oregon's turn this weekend. I think it'll be an exciting visit for him. I think Oregon leads for offensive lineman Jax Tanner. He's been out a bunch, expected back this weekend per Justin Hopkins at Duck territory. And then Deuce Geralds is one of the most highly recruited defensive linemen out of the Peach State. Tony Tuioti in Oregon, they've been on him for a while. So another big recruiting weekend for Oregon in 2026 this weekend. Then they got the big one next weekend, official visit for Jackson Cantwell and his family as they battle Georgia and Miami down the stretch.
Oh boy, it's going to get exciting when that one goes down. We just get closer and closer to these big commitments.
This year's spring transfer portal window is sponsored by Teamworks Intelligence. Their mission is simple: more hits, fewer misses, and player evaluation. In the transfer portal era, data-driven recruiting isn't just an advantage, it's essential. Teamworks Intelligence empowers your program to navigate the transfer portal with precision while simultaneously elevating your game planning and self-scouting capabilities. The same advanced analytics platform trusted by NFL teams to make multi-million-dollar personnel decisions is now available to elevate your college program's evaluation process. For athletic directors, general managers, and coaching staffs, Teamworks Intelligence delivers game-changing efficiency by streamlining the evaluation process. Instead of spending countless hours reviewing film and traveling to scout prospects, your team can assess more players with greater accuracy in less time. This means maximize recruiting efforts within new budget constraints, giving you the competitive edge needed to build championship caliber programs. Don't just survive the portal era, dominate it with Teamworks Intelligence, the new standard in player evaluation.
All right, let's talk a little Texas Longhorn recruiting, Steve. Texas landed the #1 class in America last cycle, and they are trending for some top recruits right now. Tell us, what's the latest out of Austin?
Let's start with Luke Wafel, the #1 prospect in New Jersey, #5 edge rusher in the country per On3 Industry, and I think one of the most ready-made prospects in the 2026 class to have an instant impact at whichever college he chooses. He's 6'6". He's 251 pounds with great length, massive hands, and he is a high motor player on Friday nights that lives in the backfield. Very disruptive. Texas is in the top 3, in my opinion, with Ohio State and Penn State, and he has already been to Austin 4 times. Going to come back for an official visit this summer, and his relationships are on both sides of the ball. Coach PK, the defensive coordinator, Coach Flood, the offensive line coach, getting back around Steve Sarkisian. He's done it all on all of these visits, from attending practice to getting to walk around campus to visiting with the business school to talking with the strength coach. He loves where Texas is at as a program, loves the town of Austin. This could be Texas's biggest recruiting win in the cycle. Certainly Felix Ojo, guys like that, they're in on, but those are in-state guys. Last cycle, they went and beat Georgia in the final hour for 5-star defensive lineman Justice Terry. Luke Wafel, they got a great shot to land him. They continue to make a move this weekend. Ohio State, Penn State, and USC are the other programs I'm keeping an eye on, but that's one of Texas's top targets. It was another great visit to Austin, and I think they're in a tremendous spot for Luke Wafel. Same goes for cornerback Samari Matthews. He told me that Texas made a big step forward in his recruitment after visiting this weekend, said it exceeded his expectations. Clemson, Florida State, South Carolina, some of the other programs that were in the mix for him as well. On3's #1 ranked defensive lineman James J.J. Johnson out of the Sunshine State also visited Texas this weekend. Georgia's been the front runner in this recruitment, but as we said earlier in this segment, Texas rallied, beat Georgia for Justice Terry last cycle. This is one where they made an impact this weekend. I'm hearing he will come back to Texas for an official visit. So Texas becoming a team to watch for On3's number one defensive lineman in the country, James J.J. Johnson. And another defensive end they hosted over the weekend, four-star Dre Quinn from the Peach State, talking to some sources that spent time with Dre over the weekend. That went well, and Texas is on the gas for him as well. Josh, Texas, they're not trying to close guys early. Their philosophy is that's how you get a bunch of decommitments. So they're in the long game for these guys. Get them on campus in the spring, the summer, and then commit them. Don't push them in the boat. Don't squeeze them. They'll come to Texas on their own time. It worked in 2025 when they signed the number one class in the country. They made late moves with guys like five-star safety Jonah Williams and five-star defensive lineman Justice Terry. The way they're playing, their infrastructure as a program with NIL and everything, I think we're going to see a big run from Texas at some point here in the summer.
Yeah, I agree. Last year and really the year before under Sark, we've kind of done Texas's path to a top 5 class, top 3 class. And we usually do it in the spring when they're sitting outside the top 15. Last year, I think they went as high as 18. So I got no concern over the Texas Longhorns, and I don't think their fans do either. Talk to us. Let us know if do you have any concern? Let us know. Comment section below. Let's talk some Aggie recruiting as the Texas A&M spring game is this weekend. Steve, are there going to be some elite recruits in College Station?
Yeah, it's a star-studded group of prospects coming to Texas A&M Friday and Saturday for Texas A&M spring game. And the Aggies have taken advantage this spring of bringing in top prospects every week to watch them practice, get around the program, get around the culture so they can continue to see the direction of this program. They were one win away from playing in the SEC title game last year. A lot of excitement around the program. They're looking for a second straight top 10 recruiting class this weekend will prove to be pivotal. Kevin Ford from Duncanville High School, he'll be back on Friday. My On3 RPM is on Texas A&M, but a lot of schools have made a move in that recruitment, Alabama being one of them. Titan Davis, one of the most coveted defensive linemen in the country from St. Louis. Alabama, Michigan, and Nebraska are 3 front runners, but the Aggies looking to make a move this weekend. Same goes with 2 more pass rushers in Jake Krull and Nolan Wilson. Jake Krull from IMG Academy, Nolan Wilson from Alabama. Those are top 100 recruits. Some other key names on campus Friday. You got in-state offensive lineman John Turntine III. Texas Longhorns are the On3 RPM favorite for him, but the Aggies battling. Jet Washington, the number 3 safety in the country out of Las Vegas. Bishop Gorman is a prospect also expected this weekend at Texas A&M. He's been making the rounds, places like Alabama, where he was just at, strongly in the mix. Getting over to Saturday, their spring game, Jordan Thomas is a cornerback from Bergen Catholic up there in New Jersey. I think Texas A&M is in the lead group for him. Victor Singleton out of the state of Ohio, committed to Illinois, expected to make his second visit to Texas A&M this weekend. Jamarian Carlton, a top 5 defensive line recruit out of Tempe, Texas. Texas A&M bringing him on campus this weekend. Those are some of the guys they're hot on. Obviously, Lamar Brown, 5-star defensive lineman from Louisiana. Ethan Feaster, the number 4 receiver in the country from nearby DeSoto. Those are a couple headliners on Saturday where A&M's at the top or near the top for both of them as they battle LSU, among others, for each of those prospects. So Texas A&M bringing in many of the nation's best top 100 recruits this weekend for their spring game. That will do it for today's episode of the Wiltfong Whiparound. Thanks for tuning in. Please hit like and subscribe to the On3 Recruits page so you have the best information on the breaking news on the recruiting trail and the transfer portal. Thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you back on Monday.